Have you ever thought about going on a magic mushroom journey? I'm not sure I have, but I might after this interview. So buckle up and get ready. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I'm your host, Catryn Becker. And on this podcast, we interview all sorts of interesting and successful people because we want to know what they've learned in their life that has made them so successful. Because behind every mountain of success is failure after failure after failure. And we can actually learn more from failures than we can from the successes. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly and get right down to it. Our guest today, and guest that is plural with an S, we have two, which I am so glad. It's always fun when we get that extra energy here. They come to us from Canada and have something that you've probably never thought of. They guide people back to the center of themselves using plant medicine to get there in the form of psilocybin and magic mushrooms. So Gary and Rob, the Journeymen Collective, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Psilocybin. I mean, I feel like when people first started hearing about it, we probably all have some sort of mental image of the 70s and hippies and peace and love and all of that sort of stuff. And it's really, there's so much more science behind it and it's elevated. So I feel like you guys kind of straddle the sort of metaphysical in this, the journey that you lead people through with the science of bringing in this plant medicine. So please tell us more about what it is that you guys do.
How long do you have?
30 minutes.
Episodes.
So we guide high achievers, mover shakers, executives, entrepreneurs, creatives, actors, athletes through psilocybin, luxurious psychedelic journeys so that they can connect deeper within self, expand their awareness of who they truly are, and create greater harmony in their relationships in life and love and business. And it's the biggest engine that runs human activity is business. And so part of what we were called to do is help people become more consciously aware of who they are in their lives, in their relationships, and in their businesses. And this is the way that we've been guided to create and curate immersive experiences for people to come into a psychedelic journey that's fully guided, and each person's given a unique data set of information that we help people remember so that they can continue to synthesize and work with it and understand it, even if it's completely out of their context of ordinary life. And because we do it in that way, a lot of people will come on one journey and work with that data set for years to come. And then they implement it and integrate it into their life. And they start to recognize that life is about change, life is about evolution, and that they're here for something greater.
So talk to me a little bit about the guided part of this, because the person, and I actually have a funny magic mushroom story. So my husband was a Marine and was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. And apparently you can buy magic mushrooms at the 7-Eleven. And so they did. And at 20 years old, you know, being a Marine, thinking you're top of the world, thought, you know, it's a good idea. We're going to take some of these. And the stories that he tells, like he told a story where after they took it and they were, I think they might have actually been in Tokyo at this point, but they ended up in some dive bar and Denzel Washington was buying them drinks. And I was like, is this the same story when you took the magic mushrooms? Because I'm pretty sure that wasn't Denzel Washington. So tell us a little bit of the difference about the recreational user versus a guided user.
Yeah, the recreational users, we hear loads of stories, some good, some bad, and some very ugly.
I'm sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can do it on your own. Definitely, there's no problem with that. And well, in our youth, we all probably experimented with magic mushrooms. As you said, your husband was 20. And you can go there and sit in the forest and be one with the trees for as many hours as you want. but there's nobody there to assist you if you're in a sort of a story loop or a scenery loop that keeps happening, like the movie keeps playing over in your mind, and there's nobody there to assist you to help you move through it. So with a guided journey or with guides, they're there on the inside and on the outside to assist you through the journey process, through the psychedelic experience. And you're not alone. And it's always best, we feel in our work, that somebody is there with you, not just a sitter, or as I call them, tissue handlers. And there's somebody there that knows who you are, knows what your intention is, somebody who's worked with you prior to going on a journey, somebody who's with you through the journey process. And the most important part is there for the integration. You know, our offering's around 4 months, and the integration is 3 months of the 4. And we're still working with clients 6 years later.
Oh,
And
wow.
sure, we don't work with them every week. We probably touch base every 3 months, every 6 months, but we're still connected, and they're still integrating and working through what was shown and their experience in the journey.
Is there anyone who going through this kind of healing journey is not a good candidate?
Yes. Not everybody. Okay, so if you applied to connect with Rob and Gary, and we went through an interview process, and we would know probably within the first like 10 seconds, knowing whether you're a match for us or not. We're not a clinical setup base of practice. We are more on the personal development, the inner growth, the inner exploration, maybe working through some trauma, some addiction. A lot of people are coming in now working on their married relationships or their partner relationships or business relationships, and how to grow and expand that. There are people that we do refer out to other practitioners that have more of a clinical setting for a journey process.
That's so interesting. And is this something that someone does more than once? Or is it a very individual experience? And for some people, it's one and done, and that was enough. And for other people, they're dealing with some deeper issues, and repeat is best suited for them.
With the Journeymen Collective, because it's a highly personalized experience, we only work with like 1 to 4 people at a time. So because it's so highly personalized, and because of the extensive and intensive preparation, in-person care, and the extensive integration, most of our clients, they know that they're going to come back at some point in time. However, what we're seeing is maybe once a year. Most of our clients that we're working with, they know when it's time. They've reached that ceiling, because our journeys are purpose driven, and there's a purpose for why you're coming in, and we help people to create an expanded version of their reality. And with that expanded version of reality, there's like a slipstream of data and information that's moving through you and with you throughout the whole entire experience. And then once you've come through the actual journey and the ceremonies with us, then it's time to get to work. And most people leave us and say, wow, I've got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do to actually implement and integrate all of these understandings and learnings. And so it takes time for that to happen. And humans are habitual creatures. So it takes us time to move through that recreation of the more expansive potentials that are shown to us. And we have to habituate those into our being. And it's all of our clients just know, like we'll get a ping, or they will get a ping, and it's like, it's time. It's been 3 years. It's time for another journey. Some people may only ever do one. And I can share with you that the journey that Gary and I have both been on, like we were on a guided journey last August. We finally found someone that we felt could hold that high standard of excellence and professionalism in a journey space. And that was last August. It's now like May of 2024. and we are still integrating and implementing what was shown. It's probably going to take us a lifetime, the rest of our lives, to integrate that which we were shown, and we're devoted and committed to that. So you have to be committed to growth and devoted to yourself and willing to move through some growing pains. And it's we love what we get to do with people. So
I'd question those who go on a journey elsewhere and the facilitator says, I think you need to come back next month. I'd question that. We've heard weekend, like 9-day journeys with 4 different types of medicine. There is no time for integration. There's no time for self-reflection. Bam, 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 and you're out in the world raw. And people get scared. Yeah, it was like he was like, I was like, give your head a shake, It's like, shake it awake, what is going on? And do your due diligence, do your investigation, because the Journeymen Collective may not be the company that you would want to work for, or the people you want to work with. It's like finding a good coach, a good guide, a good mentor. Are you working? Can you gel with these people? And is it people that we want to work with and that we feel that we can assist in their growth period? And most likely, the people that we work with help us grow also.
It's definitely an exchange, isn't it?
Oh, big time. Yeah. And a lot of tears exchanged.
I love tears.
Yeah, so do we.
I mean, they're so healing. And for people that are like hesitant to cry or don't have that as part of their life, where they've been taught, oh, cry baby, or whatever the story is from their life, I always remind them, I was like, water created the Grand Canyon. Like, let those tears move whatever obstacles they are trying to move. It is powerful.
That's right.
That's usually a pretty good visual for people. So we were talking about purpose just a second ago. Do you feel like this is your purpose?
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yes, you're laughing because you're like, duh, isn't it obvious?
It's a sideline. Well, the thing is, there is training online now that you can become a facilitator or a sitter or somebody who can hold journey space, but you've only learned it online, and most likely some of them have never done the medicine. So the thing is, I am a lawyer Monday to Friday, and I'm a facilitator on the weekend. There's nothing wrong with it.
That's not you, though.
That's not me personally.
Yeah.
That's an example.
Good clarification.
Totally, just correct that. So, but those people, there's like the 9-to-5ers, and then they're on the weekend, they're weekend warriors. It's like, this is our life's work.
It's been, for your listeners, like, I have 20 years of experience in personal development, metaphysical training. Gary has almost 40 years of experience in this realm. And so we blend many different threads of consciousness that we've moved through and learned through, so that when someone comes on a journey with us, you're working with the spiritual, mental, emotional, and the physical levels of your being. Or if spiritual doesn't work for you, we're working with the quantum and the mental, the emotional, and the physical. And those 4 most basic levels are needed 100% for a journey to be highly effective. And we see and hear murmurs in the field of people going on journeys every week or every month. And if, again, like Gary said, if that's what's happening, then you need to question, hey, is this truly effective?
Right.
And we just, because the journeys that we guide are purpose-driven, that is where you're going to get so much more value when you're actually stepping in with a crew of people who can hold a high level of integrity, a high level of intent, and a high level of integration and implementation support for you, so that it's not just, oh, I saw some pretty things and now I'm going to walk away and my life's going to be the same. So it's like, how does it change your life? It is the immersive experience that we provide for people is truly transformational, and you will be a different person by the time you finish working with us. And it is our purpose. Like, this is what we were created to do. And if there's another directive that comes in at a later time, so be it. However, right now, this is what, like, what, 6.5, 7 years ago, we were given the directive, this is your next step to start guiding people, bring all of the pieces of the puzzle of Rob and Gary together, your corporate, your service industry work, all of that together to create the Journeymen Collective. And we're like, what?
What does that look like?
Right?
Mhm.
People love to get so caught up in the how, you know,
Yeah.
of, well, how do I do it? You just have
We
to.
just stepped forward one step at a time. Let's do this. See how that works. Let's do this. See how this works. Oh, no, toss that out. Let's work forward, move forward. And then called on other, friends or mentors to assist us on the growth process and how we can put it together. And we had a lot of great assistance in the process.
We still do.
We still do. Yeah. Receiving is one lesson that we've learned, to receive help from others. You can't always do it alone or together.
No, we're not meant to, are we?
No.
So I do have questions about the legality of magic mushrooms and psilocybin. I don't know what the law says in the US and Canada and beyond. I'd love to know a little bit more about that, because it must have been scary setting up a business that has a lot of preconceived notions that come with it. A lot of baggage comes with this, which is ironic because you're releasing baggage in the process.
That is correct.
Totally. And so that's the thing too, like that's one thing that we had to overcome within ourselves, because I remember in high school when the local police department came in and had the big board of all the different types of substances, and there was heroin and crack and cocaine
And LSD
and then there were also these natural substances as well, natural elements that are provided by the earth. And we had to work through that because those are programs that were installed that, hey, you're going to lose your mind. And actually you find your mind. You find your own individuated mind. And in different parts of the US, there are different states where it's been decriminalized statewide. In Canada, there are different cities that are decriminalizing it as well. And for your listeners, it's a mushroom that grows in the forest. It was put there by something greater than all of us, creator, God, whatever you want to call it, the universe. It was put there to decompose that which is no longer necessary. Mushrooms, fungi, what do they do in the wilderness? They decompose the old matter, the old baggage that's no longer needed, and it spreads it out. It disperses that energy back into the ecosystem. So you parallel that with the human being. Most of our cultures have ripped out those initiatory moments in life where we go through initiations, such as when you're maybe 7 or 8 years old, or when you're first becoming a woman or first becoming a man, and you're like entering your teens and puberty is hitting or something. And we don't have those structures in our life anymore. And as a result, we grow up and then we have all this baggage. We don't know what to do with it. Our cultures aren't supporting it. And then as a function of that, there's mental, emotional, physical lack of health taking place within people. And so we're here to reintroduce something that can allow you to move through an initiation of sorts and to move through a mystical experience or a transcendental experience where you're essentially communing with nature. You're communing with something that has been provided to us to use in a reverential way and a respectful way. And our biggest intent is that you come into a journey with that medicine to decompose, let go of different baggages that you're holding onto on the mental, emotional, physical realm, so that you can open up to a new level of growth and allow yourself to till the soil of your soul and plant new seeds and get rid of some old weeds that are there. And that's what mushrooms do. So they're not something to be feared. We feel there's something to be revered, and just be certain to do it in a respectful way, because the medicine will and can kick your ass. But when you're moving through a journey. So so that's the best answer that we can give you regarding the legality
Well,
piece.
and also if people are afraid of taking psychedelics or mushrooms, I'd go into a grocery store. I'd be afraid of what's on the shelf that you're putting in your shopping cart and taking home to eat, which is not natural majority of the stuff that's on the shelf. So exactly. And if you did come on a journey, the mushrooms would awaken your sensory awareness to, what am I putting in my system? And what is the healthiest way of living and being and representing myself?
I saw a TikTok the other day of a woman going through Whole Foods and just picking up all these different things that Whole Foods itself made and saying, made with bioengineered products, made with bioengineered products. And it was just everywhere within the store. And it's one of those things that you think if you're going into Whole Foods and you're giving them your whole paycheck, that, you're getting a certain level of quality. I mean, most people just don't take the time to look at those kind of things.
Yeah, they're relying on somebody else's knowledge to dictate on what they're going to have in their life.
So, you mentioned at the beginning that you work with executives, CEOs, actors, celebrities, all of these different people coming together, and what you've seen in the journeys that you've guided and led in your own experience. Where do you think we lose our sense of self? Because it seems like that should be the most central core of our being, and yet so many of us are walking around completely disconnected to it. What is kind of your insight into that with the work that you do?
We were talking about this before this episode, and I think one of the biggest things is that we're taught to fit in. You must belong. And we believe that you're meant to belong as a unique individual. And so there are structures put in place. And even when we're growing up, like as a teenager, it's like the biggest thing is to fit in and not be the one who's on the outside. And then everyone dresses the same, and everyone looks the same, and everyone does their hair the same. And as a function of that, we lose that permission slip to truly express ourselves. And I think there's another part of that too, that we're only trained to tune into our intellect. As a recovering scientist who has been educated through several degrees, I had to start touching into my intelligence. So intellect is more mind, intelligence is more heart, and tuning into that bigger magnetic field. And on a scientific level, we have cardiac dendrites. There's about 40,000 of them in our heart field that detect and distill information. And if we can start to be more connected, so we often say that people are like bodiless chickens. It's just the head that's clucking around life. And then we're seeing more and more people that are like, I'm just starting to feel what it's like to be human. I'm just starting to access this new piece of me, and I'm not sure how I wield this fire hose of consciousness, and I need some support. I need help. And I want to open up that connection to that intelligence more. And so that's where we come in, and most likely you as well, to help people connect more deeply into hey, what is that feeling? What is your body feeling right now? What is this intelligent piece of technology that I think most of us haven't even touched into 1% of our true potential. And there are superhuman, supernatural capabilities that we all have. And one of them is even empathy. When we can feel what someone else is feeling and use that to sort of ask deeper questions of someone else, that starts to become a superpower, and we can only access that through our intelligence and blend it. So we're not just cutting the heads off people. You're blending your intelligence with your intellect.
I think one of the biggest fallacies is using mind and brain interchangeably. You know, because then we just think of the mind only as in our head and not, you know, in our heart, in our gut. You know, there's so much more to it than we give it credit for. I could seriously sit here and ask you guys questions all day long. I find this endlessly fascinating. I thank you for letting me just be curious and ask these questions of you. But as we are wrapping up, the last question I have for you, and it's okay if you don't want to answer it, I'll edit this out and I can ask a different question, but it's around your kind of personal feelings on spirituality and religion. And, you know, I know one of the things in my own journey, you know, I was raised Catholic, and sort of, you know, I first had to separate religion and spirituality, find my own kind of relationship with God, with Creator. And now, you know, I've had people from different churches feel like they didn't understand what it is that I do and thought that it was somehow anything other than being of light and of love. And I feel so much more connected now to God than I ever did before as going through this. So I'm just curious about your experiences with it, if you're willing to share it.
Well, I think I said this the other night around at the dinner table, is like probably in my 20s, early 30s, I would probably classify myself as an atheist. I did go to church when I was younger because I was forced to. I didn't know why I was going there, other than you need to sit there for an hour and listen to these people talk and then give them money. And that's all I can remember. It's like, so, and then I think when we got a little bit older, and I think in high school, we weren't forced to go there anymore. So, but I think slowly in my 30s, I was getting more connected. I had a friend that was very into yoga, into spirituality, and she was dripping on me all the time. And once I moved back to Canada after England, I thought, there's something going on here. And I was introduced to a spiritual center called Unity. And because I had an awakening happening at a Christian church of all places, my friends took me in, and they talked about thorns, burdens, and crosses that we carry. And the minister said, imagine Christ coming behind you, lifting these off your shoulders. It happened. It happened. I cried and I cried. My friends are going like, what's going on? I said, well, the minister said that Christ is going to come behind me and lift this off my shoulders. And I said, somebody's hands did come behind me and lift the thorns and burdens off my shoulders. So that led me into Unity and a spiritual center. It's not a religion, it's more metaphysical teachings. But I understand I am closer to, we'll call source instead of God, but anybody can call them whatever you want, energy, the universe. So there's a great book out there, I think, Conversations with God. I said, those happen. We talk to source all the time, whether it's in meditation or not. We're still having a conversation with source. So yeah, so.
And I think there's a differentiation there with religion versus spirituality, where religion tends to potentially teach you that the only people who can really listen to God or have a conversation with God are the ministers or the priests or the people at the top of the church. And I too grew up Catholic. And there was a time where I was like, wow, this science thing really sort of debacles this whole religion thing. And then I had an awakening, a spontaneous awakening, and I had to ask some deeper questions. And I think one of the bigger things that your listeners can ask themselves are like, what are we all doing here? Why are we on this little speck of dust known as Earth? There's 8 billion creatures, these ants running around Earth, known as humans. And what are we all doing here? And I think if we zoom up out of that, we can zoom up into a higher level of consciousness that religion can work and does work for many people. It helps people with their faith. And that's the main thing. As long as it does that, if it empowers you and continues to do so in every waking moment, then continue on that path. However, if you need something greater, then there are other tools out there that can help you with that. So I think the biggest question is, does it fully empower you?
And help you to be the best version of you.
Correct.
And help other people.
Yeah.
And bring it all together.
in love and light. And some people are like, oh no, you're not a love and lighter, are you? I was like, well, actually, light is information, and I love to work with information, and love is creation. So I'm constantly using information, and I'm constantly co-creating things. So yes, I am.
That is a beautiful way to put it, and such a beautiful moment to end on. Please share with people how is the best way to get in touch with you, and what they should need to know before reaching out if that hasn't already been covered.
Definitely. We have a great website, www.thejourneymen, Collective, one word.com. Highly suggest you go to the About Us page, or watch the 6-minute video that we posted about expectations during your journey, and do your research online, read loads about us. We have loads of podcasts, interviews just like this, and
but not as good as this one. This one's the
no,
best.
this is probably the best one. That probably is. Oh
I couldn't
yeah.
help myself, sorry.
And we're happy to hear from you. And there's a simple application form to apply to connect, and then we just go from there, and we'll be there on your journey with you if we feel it's a fit for you, and if it's a fit for us. It's a mutual beneficial agreement, I would say.
Well, Rob, Gary, thank you both so much for sharing your gifts and your passion, your purpose with me, with the audience, with the world. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to answer these questions, and just for answering the call. So thank you both so much.
Brilliant. Thank you for this time.
To the listeners, I know you've enjoyed this episode just as much as I have had recording it. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot of things. So please make sure to like this episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who might learn something from this and expand their thinking as well. Until next time, everyone, take care.